is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, club swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. You guys are piling early for a little gap up. All right. All right. I see you. We got Alan House. Good morning to you. We got Albert. Good morning. Andrew Bill. We got David. Good morning. George, Julie, Jay, Joe. Lauren's in the house. Good morning to Marius. Matthew's rocking with us. Good morning to Miguel. We got Paul G, Randy, Tim, Wally, all my peeps out in YouTube land. Good morning to all you guys. We got Daniel. We got LC. All my lurkers in the background. That's okay. I still love you. Just hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Share it with a friend if any of the content is valuable to you guys. We got a little bit of a gap up, pretty strong gap up. This is a retest gap at open from yesterday's candle. We're still inside this candle. So we have two inside days. Both days came in with pretty good. I mean, that was a really good bullish wick. We do have a little bullish wick there. Technically, VPOC inched up a little bit, but not much. And the big key level that we're now breaking above is that previous VPOC, 495.11, but inside of this candle still a little retest there. I'd want to see if we get some type of little pullback. And then I want to use 495.15, somewhere around there, maybe 495.11, something like that, as my little support, and then see if we could break out. If in the next 27 minutes, though, we start breaking above 496, 496.08, this might open and rally. This is a big breakout day, two inside resting candles, and then we get this kind of gap up. So we'll have to see where this market wants to open in 27 minutes. Miguel says, this is my first day. What's the difference between this and the Slack group? Welcome, Miguel. This is the live trade group. Slack is more of our communication tool. So that's where all of number one, any trades that I take or Johnny comes in after me, we will be posting it into Slack. But all of the other traders and members, they could post charts. You could post charts, ask questions, communicate, direct message me, Jeremy, any other traders. So that's going to be our communication tool. Yep. But this is our live trading. So we'll go through the markets here. We got the Qs, but welcome. We got Miguel in the house. Woo, let's go. All right, Qs. Let me get rid of these lines. Qs. Actually, I like this gap a little bit better. A little bit better than the SPY. Just because on the SPY, we do have a little bit of area we could pull back to. This is close enough to that support where I wouldn't be expecting a huge pullback. We also have two other VPOCs right below us. So my first one that I want to see where we open, but 429.48 would be the first little support we should have. This is a gap and go from yesterday. We've been here before. We've got rejected twice, but now we're starting to break out of the opening price of yesterday. That's pretty bullish. The next support we have is 428.64 and 426.56 below that. So we'll see if those two supports want to hold, or if we do start breaking through some of these supports and getting a bigger pullback. But that's a pretty nice gap. Targets would be the moon because I got no other fields up there, so higher until the market actually wants to put a pivot in somewhere. But we'll see. I do like the Qs a little bit better than the SPY. I don't think we have to wait as long for the Qs to run. And again, we'll see where the SPY wants to open. TLT. Bullish engulfing candle. We got the bounce where we needed to. This is right at support from down here. This is telling me there's still a little bit of a bullishness to TLT, and this could just be a pullback. We'll have to watch those levels. Support, we're gapping above support for 94.73. Resistance from yesterday is going to come in at 95.04, but even if we hang out and then we start to break bullish on TLT again, that's decent for the SPY to continue to just kind of rally. And let's take a look at NYCB for a second because they were going a little bit crazy pre-market. I mean, they've been going crazy for the last few days. They've been going crazy for the last couple days, but we were down, I think, 22% yesterday. Pretty decent. Continue selling, just lots and lots of pressure onto NYCB. After hours, we tanked another like 12-13% after the bell rang. And now we're starting to rally a little bit. I believe they just named a new CEO to NYCB, and I think that was the news that kind of lifted us from essentially 350 all the way up to just about $5. So massive moves pre-market on this one. Again, it's under $5. I'm not probably going to day trade it, but the reason I want to look at this one is simply for the fact of KRE. I think KRE NYCB only makes up about 1% of it. But this is where that one black swan could be sitting in the market. Is still, we got regional bank issues. We looked at TLT. That one's starting to rally. The SPY looks good. The Qs look good. So if there's an underlying issue, and so far it's contained to just NYCB. But if there's any type of spreading, again, the Fed stopped the bank borrowing program, and then as soon as that happened, very shortly after, that's NYCB is the first bank really to have troubles after that came in. So there could still be some lingering issues, but there's definitely some pressure on KRE. Hasn't really dropped too much though. So in terms of contagion, that's still good. Let's take a look real quick at some of your tickers. If you guys have other stocks in here you want to take a look at, let me know. Lauren wants to take a look at Roblo. Seeing if I missed any others. I think Matthew says, I got the RLT Wednesday t-shirt on today. Let's go. It is Wednesday. All right, we got RBLX. I believe they had earnings with a strong beat. I just can't figure out, like, I mean, in terms of long term, I don't know. This is a video game company, I guess. You guys with kids that sit there and play Roblox all day, maybe you have a better understanding and you're like, this is the best company in the world. I just to me, it's uninvestable just because for me to long-term invest in something, I have to understand the process. And my thought is Roblox going to be around in 10 years? If people stop playing the video games, probably not, but maybe they have other games and things on the way. I'm not sure. But really good gap. The Roblox addiction is still here, so you still got a surprise beat, 5% earnings per share to the upside. They did beat $75 million to the upside as well, so they're making money. They've had this is now the second good quarter in a row. They did miss 2 prior to that, and still a little choppy all over the place. But let's see if they could get another quarter in. The next earnings come out. Looks like May 7th for right now, at least. Really good gap. We've been watching this downtrend for a while on Roblox. So we broke it once here. We kind of came back. We retested. We did a little double bottom. So that looks good. To the upside, if we're going to say this thing wants to rally, it could. It's got some room in it. The first little spot I got is 45.50. That's not going to get me too much in terms of risk reward. And then 46.01, I think, is going to be the big level for it. Let's see if we hit any of those pre-market. We actually got up there. We got up there once. We started to come down a little bit. Let's see, 47.01. That was off to a really good start. Yeah, if we were opening at 47.01, I like it long. But in here, technically a retest gap from yesterday, although that's an inside candle from there. So this could be a gap and go. Really good levels. The problem is I don't have a spot for a stop, really. If I'm going long on this thing. My first one, I guess, would be probably 42.82. That's $3. $2.50. For 2 hours, I need $5 from here. I need a nice round $50 target. That's a little bit wide with that resistance coming in. So I probably won't take a trade on this one. The only thing I would probably look for an attempt is maybe a short on this thing. And that would be 46.15, somewhere in that zone, if I could get it. That being said, on a swing trade basis, if we come down, we start to retest. So the first spot I would look for this retest for maybe a swing trade would be about 42.42. That would also probably be my targets for today as well, if I was a short. Or getting back into a little bit lower, 41.19. Maybe there's an opportunity to go for a swing trade, but that is a good double bottom. We did try to break once. This is our second attempt out. Hopefully this one holds. I know some of you guys do like Roblox and are holding it. Enphase, I believe, also reported earnings. They missed on earnings. They are getting a gap up. So they missed on earnings per share. They also came in with $25 million less than estimated. And you got a really good gap up on it, 18% essentially. Fine for the Bulls. That's a great sign for the Bulls. When you shake off bad news like that, and again, this is one of the inverse stocks. So this is the opposite of what Nvidia has to deal with when Nvidia reports. Right now, Nvidia is just screaming through the roof. They got to come out with not good earnings. They got to come out with outstanding earnings to continue higher. Or even if they come out with good earnings, you might see that little pullback on Nvidia because everybody's already profitable. This is the opposite. This is a stock that was sitting somewhere around 350-ish in that range. Dropped all the way down to 70. I did have a buy alert here. It did hit my target. It was just after hours and I missed it and was just waiting patiently to get back in, and that never happened. But good movement after, at least. What is the short float? I don't think they have a good I don't think there's a high short float on this one, but let's see. ENPH. 7% short float. That's not horrible. That could give it a little bit more room to run. And again, they were expected to have bad earnings. This is what I was saying about ALB. This is what I'm kind of hoping on ALB. I think ALB struggles on earnings. But if that's all priced in, we could still get a decent little pop on it. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for there. In terms of levels, we're sitting at, we have good support somewhere around 116.73. We have that 7% short float working for us. I got targets to about 122. It's a decent range. This would be a decent one if we get a good high wave candle at open, we might want to look to play that. I'll throw that on the list. SEDG would be the sympathy play to it. So you're seeing that one move a little bit. We are into a bigger resistance on this one. So I got a much bigger resistance somewhere around 76.58 we got to work through. And we have this retest gap. We don't have earnings out yet. Right? Earnings come out on February 20th. But decent little gap. Do we have any volume that we're really crushing through? I guess that would be our last bigger volume candle. The biggest one I see is here, and that's all the way up there. So it's a beaten up stock, and this is playing sympathy. My biggest problem with this one is just that little zone there, 76.60, somewhere in that range. See if maybe we get a break of that first, come back, retest that 76.60. Otherwise, I'd probably want to wait for some kind of a little bit deeper pullback, maybe into like 73.12, 71.61 would be the next support. But I'll move this one up higher too. They should both have decent movement today. Let me get this higher on the list. Tesla. I think in my Monday mentor group, we were kind of playing the hourly chart, how we would play it on like not a full daily swing. And it was for somebody that not really in front of the computer that much because he's got work. But that would have been our entry right there. That would have been our stop. Targets on this one. I wouldn't even draw the target line, but we're probably sitting at about an R now. But just as we didn't take it. It was just an example setup, but really good. We talked about this before. When I say we in the mentor group, this is what we talked about. We got a good double bottom here, right? We held this one after earnings. We dipped well below it here. We tried to rally out. We failed. Any of the bulls that got into there, we stopped them out. Any shorts that wanted to come in, probably going to short somewhere around there, maybe right underneath the opening of that candle. And they felt really good about themselves down there. Before that day closes, most of the shorts in that candle trapped. Then you get another little gap down. That's a good opportunity for some of those bears to take some of their profits or to take small losses. And then you come out with a bullish engulfing candle. So on a technical basis, just using nothing but charting, this looks pretty good. We do have to watch out for some resistance. We get hit on a few times on this one, which would be right above us. That's 190.80. The next target up is 192.14. This is also a big retest gap as well. So I don't know how much more room we have. If we start to break this, let's say 192.14 zone, then we got to start to look for that gap fill. Until that, though, I think we have better risk reward to the downside for this retest. And then maybe for a swing, this could get a little bit in position. We know where the stop has to be. And could be a decent trade setup, but I think I would look for this fade. I do like the bullish momentum from yesterday. I do like the bullish momentum from today. I wouldn't mind buying dips on this one, but we'd have to get that dip for me to buy it. Otherwise, playing out of the gate, probably to the short side. Darian's in the house. What's up, buddy? What is going on? It's been a minute. All right, we got Baba. Reports earnings. Not great earnings. We did surprise beat on the revenue side by $11 million. So, okay. We had a missed earnings per share by 2 cents. Not great. It's another company that's absolutely clobbered. And could play out exactly like Enphase. Just another absolutely beat up company. We almost did it. We had a good run up pre-market to about 82.64. And sold it all off. We gave it all back. The impressive thing out of the entire earnings for Baba is their buyback. The company is valued at roughly $200 billion. And they're doing a $25 billion, that's with a B, $25 billion buyback. So they're buying back roughly 10%, and I think they already had a buyback already on the table scheduled. So they're buying back close to 13% of their shares. Number one, that means they got a ton of money sitting around that they really don't know what to do with. Two, they're buying back shares, so that will help increase valuation over the long term. They still have that one caveat on them where they are a Chinese company. If this company was a US company, I think this thing would be an absolute runner. Valuation. So I think valuation right now, PE is about 10. Once you buy back those shares, that PE drops down a little bit further. So you got the good value on it. You still got that Chinese, the China story on this one. Still got the Chinese economy. You still got Xi coming out, and maybe there's still tensions and war, and something could happen. But on a valuation standpoint, looks absolutely incredible. Even with that earnings, which wasn't horrible, it wasn't horrible. They still made money. Their earnings per share missed. So okay, maybe not the best, but that $25 billion buyback. And the other thing too, I like, and I've said this before, I don't think all buybacks are created the same. So let's say Meta just came out, and they, I believe, are doing a pretty massive buyback as well. Their stock is roughly at all-time highs. Baba is pretty much at multi-year lows. Just because the company buys back, either way, it will positively affect a shareholder, because just on the basis of what it is, now you're increasing, without you buying anything else, without you doing anything else, you're increasing your exposure into, like, you have more value in the company. right? There's less shares out there, meaning your shares are worth more. I don't like when companies buy their shares back at all-time highs. I prefer they buy it back when the company's low, when the company's dipping. So I actually like the spot on this BABA buyback a lot. I like the insane amount of cash that they're using to buy back shares, just decrease a lot off the table. So that's a really positive thing. I do have positions in BABA. I will continue to add positions in BABA. And like I said, the only factor is geopolitical. War breaks out. Every well, two things true. If a war breaks out, China attacks anybody, the Chinese stocks will absolutely take a nosedive. Right. So you do have still that risk on the table until we don't. And maybe we just always have that risk on the table. I don't know. I can't tell you. But I will say if China invades any country, the entire stock market will also take a dip too. And everybody's shares go down. So whoever's using that as a excuse not to be into something, the entire market's coming down if that happens. Chinese stocks will be affected more, and they are ADRs. So keep that in mind. So you do still have that risk on the table. For me, I'm looking at the valuation. I go, I have to buy it. I have to own it. Whether like China or not, or what they do or not. If I'm an investor looking at valuations, the valuation's crazy. That buyback helps me out a lot, and so I like BABA. In terms of the trade, you are opening at a little bit of support. This is a gap and go, but it is at big support as well. So if this level starts to break, we start breaking maybe 74.60, something like that. You have room to the downside about 73.25. But we'll have to see kind of where this one opens. I think this one actually acts a little bit more like a fade as opposed to a gap and go today. So I wouldn't mind buying the dip on this one for even a day trade. Let me scoot this one up higher on the list as well. Yeah, it's not like the company doesn't make money. They do. They make a lot of it, but you're going to have that risk. All right, I see Apple in the YouTube chat world. Now I just got to figure out how to spell Apple. There we go. All right. Okay, good little gap up still. We were talking about this candle being a little looking like capitulation. So good volume, gap down, pretty severe gap down under all pivots. Great close though, inside or consolidation afterwards, and now we're getting this gap up. I do think this one probably is a retest as well. So see if this one wants to fade first, but that capitulation looks pretty decent. I would have at least miniature longer term targets to about 195.61. With this retest, not sure if we get there today, but probably looking for 191.41, and then if we could break that, 192.50. So I think that looks decent, but we probably have to come back, retest into this candle, even come down to like 188.72 would be an interesting spot to continue to go long on Apple. We got Ford. I believe Ford had earnings as well, and a nice little gap to go with it. Surprise beat of 140%. Earnings per share, that's 16, almost 17 cents. Surprise beat earnings per share. And they did come in with a surprise beat of, it's just a little number, $2.9 billion. So pretty sweet gap up there as well. Ford's not my favorite to day trade, but this is a very tradable gap. Let's add this one to the list. And anytime I add a stock to the list, it takes me about 25 minutes to get all the way to the top. So now we wait. Albert says, have you heard BABA are shares of a company located in Caribbean, which holds the actual BABA? So in other words, there's any Chinese company is ADR. So I don't know specifically if it's Caribbean or not, or exactly where it's located. But yeah, if you own shares of BABA, if you're here in the US buying it on the New York Stock Exchange, they are you're not actually buying companies, you're not buying shares in the company. It is set up kind of like contracts based on the price of BABA. So you are correct. Yep. Anything where that says ADR, that's like if you were to buy Ford and buy shares of Ford, you have legitimate shares in the company. ADR is a little bit different because they're not traded. BABA itself is not traded on the U.S. stock market. It could be. Yeah, there's going to be risks. There's going to be risks. Admittedly, so there's definitely risks. But there wasn't as many risks. Funny enough, when BABA was $300 a share, there wasn't as many risks. It never came up as much. So just saying. Usually when people are fearful, the only thing I could go off of when investing is I have to be aware of the risks. And could something happen where it just gets delisted? Even if, by the way, even if it gets delisted, just a fun fact, if your shares get delisted, so if China invades Taiwan or whatever the case is, and the US goes, we're delisting it, you don't lose your money. It is a little bit more tricky to get it back, because you have to go through essentially the Hong Kong market at that point. But your money's not lost. You still have the value of it. It's just not in the US stock exchange. So there's a few more steps that you'd have to take to get your money back. But again, the risk is there. Yep. Uber, UBER. What, I got 2 more minutes left. Uber, nice candle yesterday. Good strong close at $70.47. This one is gapping under. This is the Nvidia effect. And again, I'm calling it the Nvidia effect, but they haven't reported yet, so who knows what happens. So far, every time they report, they just go up another $75. But this is a company where valuation pretty crazy. They did have a really good beat. 50 cents earnings per share above, so 314%. They also made an extra $180 million in revenue over expectations, and you get the gap down. And I know a lot of people going, why? That looked good. That's a good report. It is a good report. It's just the valuation right now is a little bit high on Uber, in my opinion. And you're getting kind of that profit-taking gap down. Look for support on this one, probably about 67.17. So you do have one level of support. Otherwise, 63.25. I did sell my Uber shares. I think I sold it roughly around $66, somewhere in that zone. Probably back here somewhere. So, and that was just based off of the valuation is crazy, and we've had a really good move. I do think Uber's a buyable company. I just would like to buy it back on a bigger dip. Yep, the name is still a verb. I still like it. I still like it. Just the valuation. I like good companies, and I think they're a good company. I just know that you could still overpay for a good company. AMD is just kind of hanging out in yesterday's candle, so not really any. It's a small little gap and go, but inside day candle. Targets on this one, if this one wants to stay inside this candle to the higher side, I got about 173.67. And if we start breaking below the key level, you really got to watch this 167.82. If that one breaks down, we have a little bit more room to go. Ryan says Netflix, so we'll just cover Netflix real quick, and then we'll see what the rest of the market wants to do. Again, just small inside candle. It does look like a pretty weak close yesterday. We might, and you have a good little almost bull trap up there too. Probably direction is down. Targets on this one, immediate target is 553.36. If that breaks, is a long drop ahead of it. But still inside day for now. I put a little more emphasis on the bear side of things. Everybody out in YouTube land, you guys have been absolutely incredible. Make sure you guys